Und wir News FM von News Entertainment. Sounds pretty good to me.
OGM News FM for news and entertainment. Sounds pretty good to me. For news and entertainment. Sounds pretty good to me.
All right, key in. This is solid blue, and this is cold blue in America, and this is OGM News. See, for every one of our live show, if you are here on time, if you join our lives, you'll be the first to see our video that is going to be released the next day. We have a video that is prepared to release overnight, but you will be the first to see it on this live show. That is one of the very, very few benefits of joining our live show. You'll be the first to see any of the releases. So here we introduce the video that is going to release overnight. Trump sends MAGA minions to shoe factories across the U.S. That's the plan, of course. You will listen to it now as I play this particular video that is debut to release on our YouTube and our Facebook and all other social media platforms. But you'll be the first to hear it, all right? And once again, thank you very much for being here. And since you are here, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow on Facebook and invite your friends. This is the community where it happens. All right. There's a lot to unpack from that. And that's the purpose of this show, so that we can actually explain some of what we see and what we continue to hear, and that portrays the narratives in that particular video. Of course, there's a lot to unpack on there in that very few minutes video. But that is just a summary of so far, in this new era of Trump's tariff that is throwing the global economy generally into chaos. Just so you know, as we speak, the third day in this whole problem have seen the stock market, that is the United States stock market, going down the drain for the third consecutive day after that tariff. And not just that, the global market is more or less in shambles. Global market is in shambles as we speak. Things are not looking good at all. China, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, even Russia, that is not included in this tariff, is already feeling the effect. Now, in a very important part of that video that I need you to pay attention to is the idea that Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, well, if you have to blame anybody for this whole charade, that's the Commerce Secretary. But hold on for a minute, because there is somebody else in the administration that you need to, well, not really blame him, because I don't think he wrote his book to be a template for American government. I think he wrote his book to be a grifting idea. He's just doing it to grift. But fortunately for him, and unfortunately for us, American president picked that book up and saw an idea in it, which led to this whole tariff nonsense. Yeah, but let me go back to Lutnick. Lutnick was literally suggesting that we need to bring Chinese factory to the United States. Okay? His plan, or the tariffs plan, is, yeah, of course, to create job in America. But the kind of job they are planning to create, unfortunately, it's not the kind of job you want or any one of you is capable of doing. Now, most of these factories in China or in these third world country, not just in China, because you have them in Indonesia, you have them in Bangladesh, you have these American companies in Vietnam, in almost everywhere, that they use people to massively produce some of these products that you buy in the United States. So I don't keep saying one thing. The Americans love to use iPhone, but you do not want to be the one making those iPhones. The Americans love to wear their Nikes, but you do not want to be the one making those Nikes, because the kind of hard labor that people have to go through to make these things in order for you to be able to buy them cheap, oh my word, it's not just gonna happen. Now, two things, two reasons. The very first one being that none of you is prepared to go through that kind of hard labor. I've been in this country for about 20 years plus now, and I've seen everything. When I say I've seen everything, it's because I have actually literally traveled to 48 out of 50 states of the United States. The only states I've never been to is Hawaii and Alaska. And that is simply because that would take me to go through a boat or to take me to have to fly. But I literally drove. I drove myself to 48 states in United States. I'm not counting cities, many cities without number, but at least 48 states in the West, in the Mid-East, in the Midwest, in the East, in the northern part, in the southern part. I've been there to meet people, to see culture, to see differences, and to actually, engage in different kind of business activities. So when I say I've seen it all in these 20 years, I have seen it all. That I can boastfully say that many of you Americans, many of the Americans that were born here, haven't seen things that I've seen in this country. So when I tell you that, look, I haven't seen anyone in this country prepared to do the kind of hard labor that Lutnick is calling for here, I haven't seen that person in America. We love our lives here. We love our freedom. I've never seen any one of you prepared to get that freedom taken away. But that's their plan. That's the whole idea of this tariff thing. So that at the end of the day, they're going to subject and subjugate everybody. And you will not have any choice but to be looking for stipends from a hard labor. That's the plan. I mean, he said it in that video. You can hear it clearly. I'm not the one who says it. He said it clearly, and you can hear him. They want to make life hard for you so that you can be subjugated, so that you can be subjected. And at the end of the day, you will have no other choice but to beg for your life to get that hard work, hard labor, in order to be paid for stipends. The same communism that you think you are fighting for when you keep calling the libs or the lefties or the Democrats, the communists, that same communism is exactly what they are bringing into you. That's exactly what Lutnick just asserted in that video. Because that's exactly what happened in China. That's what happened literally in China. Their law is so hard, they have been subjected to a situation whereby they have no choice, basically. You have choices in America. You do have choices. That is why things like this is not just possible. And don't forget that the farms are now being abandoned because the immigrants that are being targeted are running away. So the tariffs is not the only thing that is causing the increase in price of groceries. No. This is also a problem being caused unnecessarily by chasing after those immigrants that are working hard day and night in those farms to produce foods that we eat. And now, literally, many farms that, like I'm hearing now, many farms in California and California still, stand, to protect most of the immigrants anyway. But in Florida, for example, they are now in dire need of those immigrants to be able to help out in the farmlands, to be able to produce the agricultural product. Because many of them have run away. Many of them don't want to be shipped back to Mexico or wherever they come from. Unfortunately, those farms now need real Americans to work in them. Well, I do have my qualifications. Unfortunately, for some of you who are expecting that I will go to farm, I may sound with a very thick accent, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to farm, because I have my qualifications. I have my degrees, in quote, degrees, because I didn't just have one. Because in order to be able to strive in a society that does not recognize the skin color that I'm wearing, I know I have to strive hard. And that is why I have to pile up so many degrees in so many fields. I'm ready. Look, I'm ready. You know, the likes of me, many of us are ready. We're not the one going to those factories. But guess what? I do not pray or intend for anybody to have to face such hardship. That is why we call this country America in the first place. That is why this country is America, the land of the free, because nobody is expected to be subjugated into working hard labor. But you voted for this. I hope everybody is welcoming it with an open arms. Because as you heard clearly, that's what Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, just said, that they're going to bring those factories in China to America, where people have to use screws to tie up little screws in the iPhones. Just imagine that. And not only that, secondly, in this second part of the reason why, all this is just, lunacy, is the idea that, people will be able to get jobs back. We are not addressing the fact that most of these jobs were taken away by automation. The idea that robots have been introduced to so many factories, those are the things that are taking the job away. Some of these jobs are not coming back. And that's why I think America should readdress the idea of retraining people how to make these robots, how to make these automatic machines that is producing in mass, rather than actually thinking that you can get a job back in factory where you're gonna, literally sew shoes or, tie screws in an iPhone like Lutnick was asserting to, because that's not gonna happen. Now, the ultimate part of all this is the fact that if we happen to get these jobs, it means that your iPhone will skyrocket maybe times 3 or something, or times, I don't know, maybe times 10. Not to exaggerate, but the idea that you will be willing to do a $3 per hour job. In fact, some of these countries don't even pay up to 3 hours per hour. $3 per hour to these workers in China, in Bangladesh, in all these countries. They pay less than $1 per hour to many of these workers. Now, how many of you are willing to get paid $1 per hour to work the whole day, including your overtime? $1 per hour. How many Americans is willing to do that? And that is the scenario he's painting to you. This company did not just move out of the United States. They moved out. One of the reasons is because the cost of labor is high. So if you want them to bring all these jobs back, automatically they have to increase the wages they pay in order to get this thing done. So imagine your iPhone that you buy for maybe $1,000, you should be willing to pay like $10,000 for it. So now, a lot of things is wrong with that. One, there's no way you're going to get workers in America that are Americans who will be able to do that kind of a job for $1 an hour. That is one thing. And secondly, if you finally get this job back here, most of these wages will increase. It means that those items will increase double in price, or even sometimes times 10 in prices. That means no one will be available to buy those items. That is why I think all this chaos is unnecessary. Because companies need consumers to purchase items. If consumers are not making money, the companies go down the drain. How do you expect consumers that are working for $1 per hour, or perhaps $8 per hour, let's just say that, to be able to afford $10,000 phone. Because I'm not kidding. This whole thing is completely confusion from head to toe. It's chaotic. Chaotic from head to toe. And you want to know the guy who is behind all this plan, this tariff plan? Because in 2016, when this president was templating the idea of tariffs, is because the idea was introduced to him from this man here. Let's just find it. Okay, we got it. From him. Navarro, Peter Navarro. So I'm not going to say much about this for now. I will let you listen to every detailed explanation by these MSNBC broadcaster here. Hope I'm sharing the right video. All right, I will let you listen carefully to Rachel Maddow in MSNBC, how she actually itemized.
Do you remember where Trump got the tariff thing from in the first place? Do you remember like when and why and we started talking about tariffs in the first place? It was in his first campaign for president. Trump didn't really have any formal economic advisors. So he told his son-in-law to find him an economic advisor. Trump reportedly gave Jared some vague ideas of what his thoughts were on economic issues. You know, something, make me look tough, China bad, something. Jared then decided to find his father-in-law a financial advisor for his presidential campaign by going on the Amazon.com website and starting to browse books. Not like reading the books, because you can't do that on the Amazon website. He was just looking at the covers, looking at the titles. And he found a book title that he thought was so cool. The title was Death by China. Oh my God, that's so cool. That's so awesome. And that apparently was a quote from Vanity Fair. Trump gave Jared a summary of his views and then asked him to do some research. Kushner went on Amazon, where he was struck by the title Death by China, co-authored by a man, Peter Navarro. Jared then cold called Navarro, a well-known trade deficit hawk who agreed to join the team, economic advisor.
Unbelievable.
Navarro was a major advocate of aggressive pro-tariff policy. Where did Peter Navarro get his idea that tariffs would be a good policy for him? What was his backup for that conviction? Well, he did have back from a real expert. Cited in at least a half dozen of his books, including the one that Jared found on that fateful day. In all of his books, Peter Navarro has cited an economics expert to justify his views. And the economics expert he cites is somebody named Ron Vera, V-A-R-A, Ron Vera. When Trump won the presidency and entered the White House, Ron Vera started circulating a memo around Washington in support of Trump using tariffs in trade policy. According to the New York Times, the memo had been, quote, sent from an email address purportedly belonging to Ron Vera. At one point, Ron Vera wrote in the memo that Trump could, quote, ride the tariffs to victory. The problem is Ron Vera doesn't exist. He never has. The economics expert that Navarro has long cited to explain why he's so gung-ho. This person, Ron Vera, is a made-up person. He is a fictional person.
Tell me about
Peter
it.
Navarro invented Ron Vera as his expert source so he could quote this expert source over and over again in his crackpot books. Who is Ron Vera? Ron Vera is an anagram of Navarro, which is his last name. I mean, my name anagrams to Macho Waddler.
Yep.
I don't see myself
Ron
trying
Vera
to talk
is
you into
Navarro.
doing what
Yep.
Macho Waddler wants.
All you have to
right?
do is remix it.
But that really is how the Trump administration crafted its tariff. That's where it came up with the tariff idea.
Unbelievable.
Circulating a fake memo from a fake person with a fake email address in order to make it look like this was a serious issue being debated by real experts. That is the intellectual basis on which Donald Trump today wiped $6 trillion of wealth out of existence and crashed America's markets and brought America and the world to the brink of a self-inflicted, on-purpose, global Great Depression along the lines of what we had in 2008 and what the pandemic inflicted upon us in 2020. This time, the global disaster is Donald Trump's big brain.
Just imagine that for a second. Just imagine that for a second. You know, this is crazy. It's lunacy, you know? And it wouldn't be crazy if everybody is on point in the same, you know, angle when it comes to understanding of who Trump really is. Because he is very clear. It's not in shadow at all. There's no playing chess here. Three-dimensional chess. Do not let anyone fool you that this guy is playing a three-dimensional chess. No, he's not that smart. He's not that smart. He cannot identify a two-dimensional chess, let alone three-dimensional chess. He's a guy who hopped and puffed into ideas that people bring into his table. It's not just Navarro that brought a tariff idea. You see, the Green Line idea was spotted online on the social media platform of the right-wingers who were just making jokes. I'm serious, guy. They literally were making jokes, and Trump picked it up, and that become a policy. The Canada, as the 51st state, is literally a joke in the right-wing platform on social media. They literally crack jokes about these, and Trump picked it up and he made it a policy. We are doomed. You don't know it yet, but I am telling you, there's no coming back from this. Unless this man is gone. What's today's date? April the 7th, 2025. Sala Blue on Code Blue tell you categorically that Trump is not coming back from this. He cannot fix this. He will not be able to fix this. In fact, his attempt to fix this is going to get things worse and worse. You understand what I'm saying here? It's like we already built a jungle that is shaky, and you ask Trump to fix it, and he already removed every vital pieces under the jungle that can hold it together. And yet you're still calling on him to go fix it. There's no fixing it. There's no fixing it. This is going to be a total collapse that his removal from office can only fix. Believe it. Believe it. Even if he changes all the cabinet from A to Z, this is no fixing in this. Just like Tesla have gone into the gutter with no reviver whatsoever unless Elon Musk disappeared as the CEO. So is America is already in shambles unless this particular president excuse us. Please write today's date down. Today's 4th, 7th, 2025. Sala Blue on Code Blue in America. There's no fixing this for Trump. He already created the mess. The mess is already out of hand, out of his control, and there's no fixing it for him. Somebody else has to do this. Remember 2008 when it got out of hand for George Bush and he couldn't fix it? Yep. This is worse. This is worse. Throughout the world, as I speak to you, the whole world is in upside down mood in response to something he called Tariff, that the number don't add up. The numbers on that shitty thing don't add up at all. You can't make any money from it. It makes no sense to anybody that have common sense. And just for that, the whole world is in shambles as I speak to you. So now they are trying to shift the blame on Peter Navarro as the culprit, as usual. That is what usually happens. It's never Trump's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. And so in this case, Peter Navarro is the one to take the fault for it. And what did he do? Peter Navarro has been going around to explain it away. Explain it away, which is not a very easy thing to do. Listen to him.
Tax cuts. Do you know anything about letting the top marginal rate go? Are you a proponent of letting that go from 37 back above 39.6 to try to pay for some of this other stuff? Because you know how many small to medium-sized corporations pay taxes at those rates if they're
Joe, that one's not my lane. I let
all right,
Scotty
well, you
and,
just
and
said we're
Kevin
going to
do
cut
that.
taxes. That's not
invested.
You add all this
no
together.
tax
You add all
on
this
tips.
together, and it's not
No
looking.
tax on overtime. No tax
Okay,
on
got
Social
that.
Security. Tax breaks for if you buy
But
a
if you raise the
domestic auto.
top rate, that's not a Republican or a conservative.
You're
tenant.
asking
I don't
the
know
wrong guy.
whose idea was that. So the tariffs are all so you own the tariffs then.
Joe,
I don't know if I'd want to know that.
you're going
or
after
not
me
either.
for something
Right.
that I'm not
Okay.
involved in. I can
Can I
talk
ask you-
tariffs till the cows come
All
home.
right.
Hey, Becky,
Okay,
how are you?
let's talk a little more.
Tax cuts. Do you know?
So that is Joe Kerner. CNBC owns MAGA. Because if you need anybody who is a Trump supporter in CNBC, that's him. And he can't even figure out what this is all about. And Peter Navarro, unfortunately, cannot explain it. Because in the first place, he didn't write his book for American government to use it. It just happened that we find ourselves in a place where we have a president who don't know what he is doing, and he needed a book on Amazon. He needed a book on Amazon.com. He picked it up, and then he turned everywhere upside down. Even the guy who wrote the book cannot explain anything in it. Because, trust me, he did not write this book for a usage in American government. He wrote it so that some people looking for opinion will pick it up and read it, and it can become a bestseller. And I can tell you this, the book was sitting there on Amazon, not moving, it's not reaching any stage. It's not, and until now, he now become a bestseller because the president picked it up as his playbook. Unfortunately, even the author of this book cannot explain this nonsense.
Institutes on both sides of the aisle, the methodology that was used has been universally derided as being non-serious. I don't know whether you know exactly who came up with the formula, but it allowed you to at least characterize most of these countries as being their tariffs well above the reality of the situation, so that when you say that we're going to do half on them, it was much higher than anyone anticipated. And I think you'd have to concede that this was not the market reaction you were looking for. There's a way of maybe incrementally trying to accomplish some of the things that the president wants to do in a reasonable, serious way. And this just almost across the board has caused what you're seeing in the stock market, and a lot of head scratching and head shaking on whether anyone really knows what they're doing in this case, Peter.
All right, well,
Can you let's acknowledge that?
Sure. No, I can't, because here's what I'm seeing. You throw a lot of stuff at me. First of all, the methodology was perfectly sound. It was done by the Council of Economic Advisors based on long-term studies that are in the academic literature, and the people taking pot shots at us are the same people that always take pot shots.
The American Enterprise Institute, Peter.
Of course. Joe, come on. The American Enterprise Institute.
So, you know, one thing these guys are good at, to make you lose your trust. First, you know, they said, a hunter's dog, okay? If you ever know anything about hunter's dog, the dog that they took into the forest to do hunting, a hunter's dog have a very, very powerful instinct to smell animal from afar. And that's why a hunter's dog is much, much different from regular dogs. They're not like regular dog. And that is why you can't just use any dog for hunting. So a hunter's dog depends solely on their instinct. But if you want to make a hunter's dog useless completely, take that instinct away. So what they are doing to you in this country is, first of all, take your instinct to have common sense. They try to kill that instinct. They take it away from you by telling you not to trust in the organizations, in institutions that have been in place to help us understand the world around us. And even now that they are turning the whole country upside down, Peter Navarro still have the guts to tell us, oh, don't trust the American trade institution. Because why? Because they have to make sure you have disbelief, distrust in everything that stands to build this country, to make this country a solid organization, a solid society that is livable for every one of us. They want you to disbelieve, distrust, have no trust in FBI, have no trust in CIA, have no trust in banking sectors, banking organizations. Yes, I mean, I don't trust banks, but I mean, not to the extent of what these guys are trying to do. You can't trust any scientists again. Yeah, I know these are all humans. And you must be out of your mind to trust everybody, to trust all these organizations, because yes, definitely they are problematic. They've created a lot of havoc on their own, but still very, very important organizations and institutions in our society. Imagine not trusting the CDCs. The CDC that actually, have different kind of research work going on to be able to monitor, epidemic situation around the world. Imagine not trusting them. Imagine what's the next COVID-19 that we're going to experience in this country. I mean, look at what happened when he fired all the scientists looking after the bird flu. And then the bird flu went out of hand. All the chickens start dying. And then before you know it, the price of eggs skyrocketed from $2.99 to $11 to $9 in some places. See, these institutions, yet not perfect, and I'm not going to advise anyone to trust these institutions 100%, but still have values to our society. You can't write them off. Because the moment you write them off, you are telling yourself that the only people you're going to believe are these clowns that throw us into this mess. There's no coming out of this. I mean, not for this administration. America is really strong. It's a very, very strong country, economically and politically. America is a huge country that is hard for any clown to destroy within a short period of time. And I believe America still have what it takes to come back quickly, but not with him. Period. I am not suggesting that he has to be removed. I am not suggesting that he has to be impeached. If we have to wait for the next 4 years to go through this pain, if that is what is going to happen, so be it. But he will not be the one to fix it. Period. Every attempt that this particular administration try to fix this problem, things is just going to get worse. Things is just going to get completely collapsed because he is not your guy to fix the mess he created. It's just going to mess it up more. So when I say we are doomed, I do not say that word or that, I do not use that sentence lavishly. It was well taught before I say, yes, we are doomed. Because now we have to cope with this guy for the next 4 years, going from one trouble to the other, turning everything over itself, one after the other, collapsing every organization and institution, making things unbearable for regular Americans. No, this is not an overstatement. This is factual. Based on the idea that I have a clear understanding of what he knows and what he don't know, and a clear understanding that he is not humble enough to admit that he don't know. Because for a solution to come, you have to first admit that, yes, I messed up, I need help. It's not going to do that. Nah, he's the last person that will tell you he messed up and he need help. But they messed up. And they really need help. And he's not the guy who will fix any of this mess. It's rather too late. Too late. This whole administration is going to have a free fall for the next 4 years if it remains.
You've got a bunch of economists, right, left, and center going, WTF. I cannot believe this is bad policy, but also it's like childish math. Whether it's the signal chat or this formula, this administration's incompetence is on display every day. It's why we now have tariffs in places like Heard Island and McDonald Island where there are no living human beings, only penguins. So what is this even for? Why are people so freaked out? Why is the entire world, from friends and partners to adversaries and enemies, scrambling to retaliate against the United States, the indispensable nation? It's so that Donald Trump can raise trillions of dollars in revenue to pay for the biggest tax cuts for billionaires in the history of the planet. Starting tomorrow, we'll be paying more for everything: groceries, food, cars, homes, toys, electronics, everything that you buy. Estimates have home prices ballooning by almost $20,000 per unit. Cars will cost $6,000 more. An iPhone, $250 more. Clothing prices will go up by roughly 20%. Also, what? We're gonna be a textile manufacturer. That's our goal as a country, is to make t-shirts and socks. Workers will be laid off, but I guess it'll all be worth it in the end because this is a pay for. What does that mean? It means that in their big budget plan,
they already
need
been
to
laid
cut
off.
Taxes for billionaires, but they don't have enough money to finance that. And so they're using tariff revenue to balance out the money that they're going to shovel to a bunch of billionaires. Like there should be no mistaking This is what he intends to do. And this is one of the differences between Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0. He's doing all the things. He's actually going through with it. This is not mean tweets like normal behavior. This is all of the crazy stuff he's saying is now being effectuated as public policy, as economic policy, as fiscal policy. He's going through with it. You can no longer be dismissive of these resistance types, these Democrats, these shrills, these partisans, these people who can't keep their head on straight, these people who just want to punish Donald Trump for saying, man, that guy's kind of crazy. He's going to crash the economy. He's literally crashing the economy on purpose.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Because the antics this is not the time for the antics. This is not the time for the banters. Okay? This is not a football team. This is not a football team. You are not in support of a particular team that nobody cares about. This is not a team. Look, people keep calling these folks that they are in cult. You know, get out of the cult. Get out of the cult. Because this is helping no one. It's not even helping you. It's not helping you. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really, 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 right now, are you kidding me? Because everything that his antics and his critics have said, he has done. What else are you waiting for? Rather die? Really? With a political president or a political person? What is he giving me? See, every time we have a video on, okay, a lot of these guys come on here and say, oh, you leaves, you are Dems. Look, I belong to no group, no party, no association. We here at OGM News, we belong to no group. We are just solo on our own. But this is an exceptional situation. And you don't have to be part of any group to understand that this is not normal. This is not normal. You don't have to be a Black Lives Matter to understand that this is not normal. You don't have to be a Democrat to understand clearly that this is not normal. Every time you see people or you hear people giving you a reasonable solution, a reasonable idea to how we can move forward together as a society, stop calling them names as if they belong to some leaves, some lefties, some Dems. I could care less. If you know my track record, Salah Blue, go and check Salah Blue up on the Twitter. Okay? Check up Salah Blue on Twitter. The handle is Salah Blue. Democrats, Republican, I've always give them all their sizes. All their sizes. I belong to no group, no party. That is how they tie you down. That is how you are being brainwashed, and that is how you put yourself in the prison of mind. But you know, this is what I keep saying. You do not have to belong to any party or any political organization to understand that what we are seeing right now is not normal. You just have to free your minds. Get yourself out of this cultism and be liberated. It's not normal. There's no ride and die with billionaires. No. Why would you want to do that? You have your family to feed. You have your own family to take care of. You have kids to worry about. And even if you don't have kids, you do have your life to take care of. There's no ride or die with a billionaire, because they're not going to ride or die with you. They're not going to ride or die with you. Stop this shameful support without any consequences, without putting their feet into fire, without no justification. You can't just support anyone blindly. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that. It's not good for your well-being. It's not good for your aura to just give anyone a blind ticket of support. I am telling you now, those who vote for this president should be at the forefront of criticizing him if you want him to succeed. But when you lay back and you're taking all the punches, you got to feel pain. Okay, nothing bad about feeling pain. Oh, you will lose your 401k. Okay, fine. I'm okay with that. Okay, you're going to lose your job. Oh, I'm fine with that. For what? So that the billionaires can get richer and richer and richer until they make you their own slave. Oh, you think this is just going to affect the black and brown? Oh, you think this is just going to affect the immigrants? Oh, you think this is just going to affect the others? I am laughing because it is unbelievable that anyone at all will have that line of thinking. Billionaires don't care. They do not. It doesn't matter what color you're wearing. White, black, brown, they do not care. They will eat you up if that is what it takes to make my money. I have some of them friends. I have some of them as relatives. I know them. They do not care. No matter how you think you want to worship him. Now I will draw the curtain to a close right here. Sala Blue will see you in a G in the next show. And that will probably be tomorrow. I will see you. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for your joining me here. This is very important to me. Please, we are building this gradually. Be part of it. Help us to build it. And there's no way we can continue to trust this mainstream media. The only thing we can trust is what we search for ourselves. That's why we are here to represent you guys, to help you search for the news. We dig for it, we ask questions, and we make sure that we don't just fall into the trap of the mainstream media. It doesn't matter what mainstream media you listen to. It might be Fox News, it might be CNN, it might be MSNBC. I'm telling you now, yes, they sound like they're different to you, but they are all the same. Corporate business trying to enrich themselves with your rating. If you give it to them, you make them richer. And in other words, you become poorer. Because the more they create chaos into our society, the more devastating we all become. Just look at it. Look at how we are hating on each other for nothing. For nothing. For nothing. Calling each other's names and all that. Some of us here have completely said, no more. Mainstream media, nah. I cut the cable completely. Because I don't need them to be able to know exactly what is obtainable. Okay? Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for being here. Since you're already here, before you leave, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Facebook, be part of this great community. OGM News. And I'll see you later around. Thank you very much for listening on the radio. Thank you for watching on the platforms.
OGM News FM for news and entertainment. Sounds pretty good to me.
OGM News FM for news and entertainment. Sounds pretty good to me. For news and entertainment. Sounds pretty good to me.